Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 710th episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have David Schaumer. He is a former child prodigy in pumpkin growing. I kid you not. CPA, CFA, CEO. He's an entrepreneur. He is an e-commerce expert, focusing both on Amazon as well as in the Shopify. And we get into the differences and why there is a difference, how can you decide which one is right for you, and who he can help. He's a hunter and Midwestern small town guy. Great discussion. I was on his podcast, Firing the Man, just a couple weeks ago. That's how we met. And so we had a good chat, nearly an hour. And we got into some, not really into the weeds, but into, how to grow today. How to focus, where to focus in e-commerce, why e-commerce is a viable tool, where he sees it going in the future. Like I say, he's into manufacturing. We get into his story on how that came to be, how he became a CEO after being an entrepreneur, and how he's juggling that. So a lot of good stuff. We're not politically correct, but hey, you know that if you've listened to me for a while. But we're not over the edge. We're not over the top. Okay. So, thanks for tuning in. Okay. And as usual, I got the 12 weeks to peak going, 12weekstopeak.com. Get your own daily tracker, your 12-week tracker, your habits. Have this on your desk every day. Be looking at it. Hold yourself accountable. Join the free group. Ask questions. Let me help you grow. Okay. 12weekstopeak.com. Get my daily emails as well at, over at thesaleswhisperer.com. Join me. I will help you grow. I guarantee it. Now on with the show. David Schaumer, Firing the Man podcast. And got a couple other things cooking over here. Build, Grow, Scale. We stopped counting at 400 million in e-commerce sales. Kind of braggadocious, aren't you? I guess that's why I like you. Welcome to the Sales Podcast, man. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great, Wes. Happy to be here.
So you just stopped counting, huh? I mean, like when you get to 1 trillion, people just won't believe you, right? Because I mean, like 400 billion here, 400 billion there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, we make data-driven decisions at Build, Grow, Scale, which is what you're talking about. And the more data we have, the better we perform. And so that's a really significant statistic, is because we've got some really big clients that have really high velocity of sales, and so data is king, and so that's definitely an important thing to flex on, and we do it. I should probably explain what it is. Build, Grow, Scale. So Build, Grow, Scale is a conversion rate optimization agency for Shopify owners, and I started my career as an Amazon guy and built several businesses on Amazon. However, over the past couple of years, Amazon has become a tougher game to play. And through my podcast, Firing the Man, and talking to a lot of really successful e-commerce entrepreneurs, I've learned that owning the traffic and really in not being beholden to an Amazon or a Walmart or a Temu has its advantages. And so that is a strategic direction that I'm going in 2025.
Will Amazon ever be beaten? You see all these big companies. It's always interesting. You look at like the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Well, I mean, there are companies from 100 years ago that don't even exist anymore that were part of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So it's like big companies can go away, but it's like Amazon seems like they're everywhere. They're into everything.
I'll tell you what, I mean, I think the answer is yes if you stretch your time span out long enough, right? But, in the
like 1 million years?
Right. Then, of course, the answer is yes. We've been hit by asteroids or whatever. And but
they will have an anti-asteroid. He has rocket ships. He'll already, if you subscribe to Amazon Prime, you'll have a rocket ship, ejection portal thingamaboppy. So maybe not.
2-day shipping to the moon. And yeah, no, they are a dominant company in e-commerce, certainly dominant. And what I will tell you is if you look at market share, Walmart is gaining some steam and Temu is definitely gaining some or gaining some steam. And so I do think that competition in that particular market is good. It's good for sellers and buyers, right? It creates competition. But they're getting into pharmacy. They're getting into a lot of ancillary, not just online shopping, right? Not just buying dryer sheets and having them delivered a couple days later. They are getting into a lot of different industries, and it's definitely a really cool company to follow. And I've read quite a few books about Jeff Bezos and how he structures things, and unless it's $1 billion idea, they don't even entertain it. And so some of those decision-making principles, even if you're not running a behemoth, they still have value in the company you may be running.
Well, the sales podcast should be worth like $3 billion. So he needs to call me. He's missing out.
Yeah.
Can you reach out? Can your people reach his people to call my people?
I'll keep my ear to the ground. I'll tell you that.
All right. I appreciate that. So going the Shopify route, is this, you're talking about firing the man. Is this kind of like sticking it to the man? Like, is Amazon the man now? And it's like, you just got to branch out on your own and say, no, I'm not giving up that much margin. I'm not giving up that much control. Okay. I may not sell as much, but I'll be in control. Is it pride of ownership? Is it a little less chaotic, going the Shopify route, trying to do your own thing and instead of going the Amazon route?
Yeah. So I would say for a well-rounded e-commerce entrepreneur, Amazon's always going to be part of the picture. And I think what happened, and this certainly was the case with me, was pre-COVID, Amazon was the Wild West. It was not hard to build, I would say, like $1 million brand. You'd go on Alibaba, you'd source things, you'd sell it for 10x what you bought it for, and there wasn't a lot of competition. And so I think what happened was that attracted a lot of sellers, and that opportunity shrunk. And so I think that it's part of just general diversification, right? You would if you were a well-rounded business on only online platforms, you'd probably want to take a look at Walmart, and you'd probably want to take a look at Etsy if it was a good product market fit. However, one thing that makes Shopify unique is they're truly your customers. And, when you make a sale on Amazon, yes, your brand name may be on the product, your brand name may be on the listing, but that is Amazon's customer. Amazon doesn't allow you to collect an email address. It doesn't allow you to collect a phone number. There's only certain types of communication you can have with that seller, with that buyer. And it is becoming increasingly a pay-to-play platform where pay-per-click advertising is expensive, and it's just kind of necessary to play the Amazon game. And so, I would say right now, I would take one Shopify order for 2 Amazon orders. I would take that every day of the week. And that's because I can engage with those customers. I can, one thing I really like to ask, and I think this goes along with the sales podcast certainly, is when they check out, I always have a survey when they're done that says, what was one thing that almost prevented you from making this purchase today? You can never ask that on Amazon, but you certainly can, and you can get really good intel from your customers. And I think that gives you the power to engage with them in a better way and a little bit less restricted.
Well, I totally get the 2-to-1, but is it a 10-to-1? Being on Amazon versus on your own, as far as sales. But I mean, I would imagine you got higher margin on Shopify. So, is it 10-to-1? Is it 20-to-1? But are the margins so much better? So it becomes almost a 2 or 3-to-1, even though it may be 10 to 20 volume wise.
Yeah. So let me apply real numbers to this, because I'm a retired accountant and I love spreadsheets. And so I certainly look at this on a Amazon sale. Let's use $100 Amazon sale. This year in 2025, $52 out of that 100 will go into my bank account. I will use that $52 to cover my cost of goods sold, right? Like the cost of the product.
Amazon takes 48%.
Yes, on average on products that I'm currently selling. And there's some pretty standard rates. So they have something called a referral fee, which is just a 15% haircut on most categories right out of the gate. It's the cost of admission.
Kind of like an Apple, like they'll take 30%, right, on apps or whatever.
Exactly. And then you've got FBA fees, which is when they're doing your fulfillment. You also have
FBI fees and CIA fees, but I mean, we won't talk about that, okay?
Right, exactly. And then you've got pay-per-click advertising, which I would say on a pretty efficient Amazon brand, out of that $100 sale, you're probably spending about $15 on ads. And so there's a lot of expenses required in.
Okay, so out of that $48, 15 is the ads. 15 isn't coming out of the 52 that you take, or is it?
52 is what's going into my bank account.
It's going to your bank account, and now do you still spend ads, or is the 15 part of the 48?
Great question.
Goes away.
Great question. So to go from 100 to 52, it's just Amazon fees.
Mm.
And so out of that 52, you got to pay your 15 for advertising.
Ads.
You've got to pay for your product,
Pay for the product.
Generally could be 20, 30%. And you've got shipping. And so I would say most Amazon
but shipping's free.
Well, someone's paying for it. I'll tell you that.
What?
Yeah. Someone's paying for it, and
let's just get the government to pay for it, because then we the people don't have to pay for that.
If you can work that deal, I'm all in. But
that's what my representative told me.
Yeah. I got some stuff to sell you if you're believing them. So like, what do you take home then? You got a $100 item. I mean, you're taking home $20, $10 on a typical Amazon brand, and that's something that I think if you go to online forums, you go to Facebook groups, this is something that I think people inflate a lot, and is what are their margins after they account for everything, right? And
listen, Abraham Lincoln said you can believe everything you read in a Facebook forum. He said that like right after the Gettysburg Address. He gave a press conference right after.
That's right. And so, I think what you'll often see is people flexing on their revenue. And you don't buy groceries with revenue. You buy groceries with net income, what's left over after your expenses. And so, going back to our example on a particular brand that I have, I would say my off Amazon margins would tend to be 30 or 40%. And so, it's just, that gives you cushion. And I'll tell you, if you're operating at a 10% margin, it doesn't take a lot to be upside down. And that's no fun, where you're just, you're paddling against the current and the current's winning. And so, when you have a product that has a 30 or 40% margin, you do have room for uh-ohs. And on Amazon, there's really, it's really weeded out a lot of sellers, to be honest with you. And if you're still playing the game, you got to be efficient, very efficient. And so, but again, Amazon, I can tell you as a consumer, when I'm ready to buy something, I open the Amazon app. It's linked to my Amazon credit card, and they make it really easy. It's a seamless shopping experience, and I trust them because I know I can do free returns. And so that eliminates some of the risk. And so I don't think Amazon's going anywhere, but I do think, if you're thinking of your business as a living, breathing organism, diversification needs to be part of that, to make that organism healthier. Right. And I, that would be true if you were in really any industry, right? Diversification is generally regarded as a positive.
Yeah, and I learned that, man. It was always I try to tie everything back to when I moved in this house, because we moved here in early 05, middle of 05. Oh, golly, everything runs together. How old am I? No, 2010. 2010 we moved in. We're in another house for 5 years. So 2007, 2008, I had gotten my hands on a sales book that was hard to get. So I was buying them at list price, like $24. At first, I was selling them as much as $108. So I sold them on Amazon. And I did my own fulfillment. And I don't even know if they did that. What, FBA, right? Do we call it? Fulfilled by Amazon. I don't know if they even did it back 07, 08. But I had a little text, a little message I would send. And over time, Amazon got wise and they would shut that down. But I was like, hey, I've got like bonuses and, go here. Well, so then I just had a little insert because I was doing my own mailing. So I just put a little card, little insert, hey, for bonuses, blah, 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 go here. And so some would take me up on that because I didn't know who they were. Right? Even back then, Amazon owns the customer. And that's disconcerting to me.
Yeah, it certainly makes interacting with them challenging and not even from a spammy, not even, I have a particular product. It's a hunting product and it involves a custom photo. It's a turkey fan mount with a custom color photo. It's a really cool product. And anytime I love to hunt, I'll tell you that. And anytime I get an order, from somebody on my website that has a picture of them and their kid, I always send them a message and say, hey, tip of the hat to you for getting kids in the outdoors and hunting. They're the future. And just wanted to mention that and thank you for your business. That type of interaction would not be possible on Amazon. You can only really reach out to that customer if there's a problem that needs resolved, or if you screwed up and you caught it. And so that is, I like that. I like to genuinely connect with my customers because, e-commerce is kind of a nameless, faceless transaction sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think the more humanity you can add to that transaction, the better off you are. And I can think of brands that I've interacted with on the consumer side that have, yes, it's been an e-commerce transaction, but they've really showed up on customer service, or they showed up on, just going above and beyond, or sending me a nice note. And I remember that. And when it's time to repurchase whatever item it is, I don't forget that.
I can't believe you shoot Bambi. I wish I'd have known that. I'd have canceled this. Man, a cute little Bambi that's just a little fur, little ears twitching. I mean, what?
I'll tell you, I love hunting and I'm unapologetic about it. And if you're eating meat, it
comes from the grocery store. I mean, it's not Bambi.
You're killing it with a credit card. And what I'm doing, what I'm doing is just as ethical. And I would invite you to my house to have venison for dinner. And you could see the care that we take for that meat and how we use up everything. And it's something I grew up doing, and I really enjoy it. And it kind of is a polarizing topic, and I wish it wasn't. But
it really isn't. There's a handful of loudmouths. It's like culture is changing, and I'm here for it, man. It's like the wackos don't have the power anymore.
Yeah.
People are standing up to the whole cancel culture. I just saw a thing this morning. Some woman, never heard of her. She makes cleaning videos, organization, and I don't know. I guess she's a Trump supporter. It came out somewhere. I don't even know. Somebody was talking about her, and this guy that I follow was doing kind of a breakdown of it, social commentary. And this was 4 days ago, I guess. And she was shooting through 1 million followers. I saw it this morning. She was at 2.1 million followers.
No kidding.
Because this woman's trying to cancel her. Everybody go find this woman and cancel. And this dude's like, cancel culture is over. Get with the program, folks. It's literally 180 degrees. She went from however, she was still pretty popular, I guess, but over 1.1 million followers and new followers at least in 4 days. So,
yeah,
sanity's coming back.
Right. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I have to believe that, and this is just, I'm speaking about my own experience and nothing else, but you watch the news or you get on social media and you think that all of the bad things, racism, sexism, you insert whatever, is just running rampant. But then you go to the grocery store in your local town, or you go to a soccer game and talk. People are pretty cool. And I think a lot of this controversy exists on the internet and the internet only. And that gives me hope. It really gives me hope, because I kind of believe it to be like recreational outrage. Like, I'm just going to get fired up.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah. And so anyway.
But hey, look, good job. I sent you the talking points. I told you what to say when we hit record. But hey, when I turn off record, right, we can do our planning on how we're going to attack people, women, minorities, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, that was good. Yeah, it's all for the recording. So,
yeah,
white men, we hate everybody. So, I mean, we shoot Bambi. So clearly we shouldn't be listened to. We need to be suppressed, oppressed, maybe even like just, I don't know, strung up. But I digress.
Yeah. Cancel me. It'll be good for business.
It is, right? Yeah, it is, man.
Yeah.
That's all this meme is going around forever. I'm sure you've seen it. So, yeah, I'm for PETA. People who eat tasty animals.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Back to selling. Because what you're talking about, because I was asking, 2-to-1, 10-to-1, blah, blah, blah. But if you have like an ascension model, right, or if you have ancillary products, you need to be on Shopify, or you need to be in control, right? Because maybe you get them in with a $10 product, then you can sell them a $50 product, and $100 and $1,000, or rinse, wash, and repeat. But I mean, most people don't really think that way. It seems like most people are just in it for the buck. Like that whole buy it on Temu, sell it, like that just always seems so cheap and worthless to me. I'm like, I don't want to do that. That doesn't seem like fulfilling in life. But I mean, you can make a buck. But
yeah. I mean, drop shipping is something that there are a lot of people that make a lot of money doing that. And I will never fault somebody for, what they do to put food on the table, right?
Knock yourself out. It's just was never attractive to me.
Yeah. But if you contrast a drop shipping company with, say, a private label company, a company where you have the low price item, the medium price item, the high price item, you have a cohesive brand, you've got a good message. If you just look at the value of that, it tends to be about twice as like the value of that company is twice as much. And so, like, if you were to look at a drop shipping company right now, you could usually buy that for about 2 times a number called seller discretionary earnings, which is really close to EBITDA. Basically, revenue minus expenses, and you add a couple things back, but 2x on a drop shipping company. On a comparable private label company, that would sell for about 4 times seller's discretionary earnings. And so if you think of yourself as a business person, you get compensated in 2 ways. One is the cash you get in on a weekly or monthly basis. And the second is the value of that business at exit. And so if you're going to invest the time in building an e-commerce company, you ought to think about not only making the buck today, but making the buck in the future. And so that is a finish line that a lot of businesses don't get to. I think it's like 2 or 3% of businesses actually sell. And so that is, just reaching a point to where you've built an asset that's worth selling is notable. But yeah, I've gone the private label route, and I've got a factory here in Missouri and a factory up in Iowa. We're all about manufacturing in the USA. And we've got veterans in our factories. And I'll tell you, you want to talk about a little hiring pro tip on veterans in particular. When I'm like, people will always say, good help is hard to find. And I had a mentor who told me one time, like, quit saying that or else you'll fail. Like, there is good people out there. You just need to find them. They're harder to find, but they do exist. And I have been hiring out of the Veterans VA Job Placement Program. And you want to talk about, I'm in manufacturing. And so we have a list of procedures. We have people that are working that'll report to a foreman. And you want to know who does a great job of training people for that type of work is the military. And so And oftentimes health insurance, they have health insurance coverage. And so you're able to pay them a little bit more and everyone wins. And so that's, I'm getting off on a tangent here, but it's a tangent worth getting off on because it's, I have had some real dud employees and
Yeah.
that makes your life hard. But when you have somebody who is responsible and shows up on time and does a great job and brings you solutions and not problems, that makes your life easier and makes running a business a lot easier. And so I've went through a lot of duds to find some great people that I'm working with right now. And quite a few of them came out of that VA job placement program.
Yeah.
So,
hey, anyone that can drink a 12-pack every single night and still make it to PT at 6 a.m. and get the job done, they're all right.
yeah, our military guys, they show up with a thermos of coffee at 5 a.m. And just are wonderful to work with. And that backbone they have from the military, I think, is incredibly valuable. And so, yeah, if you're a business owner out there and you're saying to yourself, good help is hard to find, step one, quit saying that because you will believe it into existence. But step two, check that out. And my other hiring pro tip, while I'm off on a tangent, I'm just going to keep rolling, is post ads in the newspaper. And I know that sounds funny as we sit here in 2025, but my theory is if you read the newspaper, you have your shit together, generally. If you have Facebook Marketplace, that does not necessarily mean that you have your shit together. And I found some very reliable people out of the local newspaper. And it's a great screening tool. They can read because they're in a newspaper. And I just, that's been something I've noticed. People I've hired out of the newspaper have been generally pretty good to work with.
If I start reading the newspaper, will it help me get my shit together, or am I just a lost cause?
Wes, you're too far gone, my brother.
I had to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And especially in today's day and age, man, it's generations like to pick on each other. I get it. But there's some truth in that. And then with COVID, I mean, the world, things got weird. But I think the military has stayed consistent. I mean, you got to get the job done. You got to get ready for war. It's we don't care what's going on, right? Wear your gas mask, do whatever. I mean, it's fight through adversity. And so I can see how getting those guys and gals, it makes sense. I mean, for 6 months, I worked at a company that it was founded by a bunch of academy grads, and there's several companies like that out there that help veterans. And they're not typically recruiters; they're like a placement service, right? They work with transitioning veterans leaving the service, and so the selling point there is the moving, right? So because the military will pay for your move up to the distance back to your home of record, right? So if I got out of the service here in California, but my home of record when I entered was Texas. So whatever that distance is, if you want to move me to New York, well, they would pay, half of that, right? So the moving expenses are covered. And like you said, if they're retiring, then they have free medical. But I was on the company side. So I would have called on you and said, hey, do you want to come to our conference? We're bringing in, 50 veterans in 6 weeks. It was always at an Embassy Suites, and you come in, and then the placement guy, he'd sort through the resume, say, hey, David, I got, you're looking for a shop supervisor. We got, 12 guys that may fit the bill. And so then you just show up for 1 or 2 days and just bam, 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 45 minutes, 1 hour, whatever, and just candidate after candidate. But conversely, they can interview with 5 or 6 or 10 companies in those 10 days. And then people can make offers. But I mean, those companies have been around for a long time, decades. And it's a thriving business.
Definitely. Absolutely. Sorry, I keep taking us off on tangents, but it seemed worthwhile to go down.
Hey, it's what I do. Squirrel.
Yeah.
Okay. What? So that's interesting. So you're doing this e-commerce stuff, but then did you have the factory first, then e-commerce? Did you get into e-commerce and say, man, I need to take control of the process? And how does an accountant become a manufacturer.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say I have always had an entrepreneurial itch. My first business I started at age 10. It was a pumpkin patch. Between 10 and 18, I scaled that pumpkin patch to be like fairly significant in our town. I hired friends. We had employees. It was great.
What does
And
that mean? Like in your own backyard?
let me show you something, Wes. Just give me, for your video audience, give me 1 minute.
For those listening, David is taking off his headset. That means he is getting serious. And he's going to bring over some kind of picture. Okay, he's back. Headset is back on. What? Oh, dun, dun, dun. Pumpkin Patch Kid.
So this is
That's
me.
some big old pumpkins.
It was. And we grew several thousand of them. And
Where? I mean, it's like a family farm or what?
I grew up in small town Iowa. And so we had some extra
Is that
ground.
over by Canada? Where is that? Are you European? I
We're
forget.
smack dab in the middle. It's the
Oh, flyover country.
Well, we're the ones that feed the world. I'll tell you that. And our soil is so rich, it looks like coffee grounds. That's the place that we're talking about.
Hey, I've been at my freshman year roommate at the Air Force Academy. He was from Des Moines, and we drove out there from Colorado Springs for Thanksgiving. I guess my sophomore year, so it would have been 89. That's a desolate drive, man. Colorado Springs to Des Moines. Just put that thing. Just put a broom handle, duct tape the steering wheel, and just go to sleep.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. But anyway, so have always had the entrepreneurial itch. Went to school, majored in accounting and finance, and I knew I wanted to like run my own business at some point, but I didn't have any cash and I didn't have any ideas. And so I went and worked at a consulting firm for 7 years, where I did a lot of mergers and acquisitions. I saw a bunch of people build and sell companies, and that was inspirational, and I learned a ton about it. I also did some business valuation, got to work with the FBI. It was really cool in terms of learning.
Why are you working with the FBI?
Ponzi scheme investigation. And so forensic accounting was part of the consulting group, and
Nice.
It's like putting a puzzle together. And our biggest case we uncovered was $430 million that was stolen out of truckers' pensions. And you want to talk about a group of hardworking people that deserve a pension, it's truckers. And so, but worked with the FBI on that and was learning the whole time, loving it. But the itch never went away. And I'd seen enough people build and sell companies that I thought, I could do this. Oftentimes the people that were selling, 8-figure businesses or 9-figure businesses, it wasn't that they had a Harvard MBA. It wasn't that they were well connected. The common thread I found was they were really gritty individuals that just were super resilient. And that was something that I feel like and over time have developed grit and am doing it every day. I haven't arrived, but it was, I feel like I have the tolerance for running a business. Yeah. And so started a pet supply brand while I was working this full-time gig. I'd wake up at 4, from 4:30 to 7. I would work on my e-commerce brand, and I'd go to work, and I'd come home. And I did that for 2.5 years and worked a ton of weekends, but built that pet supply business up to the size to where I could comfortably leave my job and go do that full time. And throughout that whole process, that would have been starting back in 2016, I started a podcast called Firing the Man, where I documented my journey of I've got a corporate job and I want to leave it, and here's how I'm going to do it. And so about 16 months into starting that podcast, I did fire the man and have been self-employed ever since. And so it's, in terms of my path, that has been my path. And, one thing that keeps me here is I truly believe e-commerce is a better shopping experience. And if it's a baseball game, we're in like the 3rd or 4th inning. And so I really believe in the industry, especially growing up in a small town. You have access to all of the same products that someone in LA or New York City would have. And so, yeah, I love e-commerce. I really do. And, if I look at the next 30 years of my career, e-commerce will always be a part of it.
So you started BGS, right? Build, Grow, Scale. Who's coming to you?
So I did
Who do you
not.
support? Bigger companies, bigger brands?
So I will answer that second question, but I did not start Build, Grow, Scale. Build, Grow, Scale is a company that's been around for 9 years. And as I was growing my business, I always admired them. Like they had great content. They had great like instructional videos. And they always worked with like larger clients, people that were doing better than me, basically. And so exited 2 businesses in 2024 and was looking to what I wanted to do next. I retired for 6 weeks. I was miserable. And so I reached out to Matt Stafford, the founder of the company, and mentioned, my admiration of Build, Grow, Scale. And I'd been a fan from afar for a while. And they, at that point in time, were hiring a CEO. And so I applied for that position, and that is what I am doing right now. And so our typical client is going to be a larger Shopify store, somebody doing at least 100,000 a month on Shopify. And I'll explain it to you and your audience as I explained it to my mom. When you have a website and you have 100 people come to it, generally about 1 person out of that 100 ends up buying. That's your conversion rate, 1%. Our job is to take that 1 person and get it to 3 to 4. And so the amount of ad spend stays constant, but the number of sales that you make just skyrockets. And so if you look at growing a business, one of the biggest things you can grow, like move the needle on, is conversion rate. And there's approximately 30 employees right now. I would put our front end and back end developers up against any team in the world. And they do a really, really good job. And as you mentioned, we have hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue that we're working on all the time. And so when client A is winning on a new strategy, guess what we're talking to client B, C, and D about is that strategy. And with the amount of data that we have, we're able to digest that and really kind of bring value to the whole family of clients, which I really like. That's one thing I would say.
You have to be kind of selective. I mean, you can't really have this identical, like you can't have 2 pet companies as clients in that case, could you? I mean, I might.
No, and I'll tell you, we probably turn down more work than we accept. And that is something that is interesting to me, to be honest with you. I had worked at a consulting company and very infrequently would we turn down work. This particular company's in a position where, they pick the clients that they like to work with and where we feel we can really move the needle. We've got some people that'll hop on a sales call and they've got a great converting website and they don't need us. And so we wish them well and send them on their way. But I would say we probably are turning down more work these days than accepting. However, the ones that we do, we really do feel like it's kind of a family of clients. We're trading secrets, and the larger that family gets, the more valuable that family becomes.
Well, I won't tell anybody. I mean, my clients, it's 100 for 100. So, I mean, this 1 out of 100, I don't know.
I would
That's
say
crazy talk.
Yeah, I know. Well, you're the sales whisperer.
With the Circle R, I got the trademark thingy. That's
right.
That makes me like legit.
Yeah.
Like magical. That Circle R, it gives you like wisdom.
Yeah.
Pay the government, and then they just like give you wisdom. It just right in your head.
That's right.
It's pretty cool.
That's right.
So you just CEO, that's interesting. I'm literally in talks with a local company. Young guy started it, and they're growing, and I may become their VP of sales. It's a marketing company doing good stuff, and I'm like, I've worked from home since right after that job I told you about, working at that recruiting company. I've worked from home since the summer of 2000. I was in a high-tech firm that had an office in Austin for about 8 months before I moved here, but I was always traveling. So, I mean, I didn't have to go in the office very much. But I've only had somewhere with an office. So between this late December, I call it January 1st of 2000 to now, I had an office as a traveling salesperson, though, for like, what is that? A year. Then I had my own office here for about 14 months and we were doing training, but like, nah, I gave that back. It was a co-working space. So it's like, that'll be interesting. We're in talks right now. Maybe this is meant to be. You were meant to inspire me to go join these young bucks and
I'll tell you,
set the world on fire.
Some people may look at my decision and say, wait, this is the firing the man guy. He's all about not working for somebody.
And now you're the man.
What's he doing going to work for Build, Grow, Scale? And I'll tell you, I think there's an interesting observation that I have. So, prior to, I was an entrepreneur as opposed to intrapreneur. I was building my own companies. I was hiring. I was making a lot of decisions. And I would say what I'm doing here is entrepreneurship, where there's already a team of total badasses that are outstanding at their job. And when you bring entrepreneurial, innovative ideas to them, boy, do things go faster than trying to figure it out on your own as a business owner. And so it's been fun working with super talented people that are high achieving, and they're already there. Like the company's been around for 9 years, and there's a ton of in-house knowledge. And it seems to me that that's a different experience than, starting from scratch and doing every position in the company and then trying to outsource one at a time as you grow it. Not that one's better or worse, but for someone to say, I can't be entrepreneurial without running my own business, I would tell you that I believe you're wrong. You can be, and they call it entrepreneurship. And it's a fascinating topic, and I'm enjoying it.
Is it a remote position for you? I mean, you work from home?
It is. It is a remote position. Yep.
Very cool.
Yep.
We're running down some similar paths. Well, they're local, though, so they're close. So I don't know if I want to go into an office, but it's high energy, younger folks, and they want to go up, to the mid-market, which is my experience. And they hired a badass CMO. She's been on board for about a year, put some processes in place, and they're bursting at the seams. They need somebody with a little bit of gray hair, kind of help them go to that next level, so it's interesting.
Yeah. I a couple years ago would have said, work for yourself, fire the man, don't answer to anybody. And my opinion on that's changed. It really, really has. And I would say I probably have less stress in my life, and I'm enjoying work more, working with a bunch of really elite people that were there on day one.
Well, and I've said this repeatedly in the 12 years running this podcast. It's like there's so much hype everywhere, but it's always, if you're not driving up in a Rolls Royce to a private jet wearing a $50,000 Rolex, and you suck, and it's like a lot of those guys are scammers, Ponzi schemers, not telling the truth about their margins, right? And some have made it, and good on them, but it's like there's no shame in working for someone. And I always tell folks, like one of my earliest sales mentors, and I worked with them, and we're friends to this day. He's a few years older, and he's never been on his own. And he's the number one salesman at like a Fortune 50 SaaS company, number one in the world. He might literally be the top salesman in the world right now of anything. He's been at this for 30 years. I mean, he's right around 60, 58. Been selling ultra high level for at least 2 decades. There's nobody better in the game. And it's like, you're going to tell me he's not successful? He just did it through corporate America. And there's nothing wrong with that. Bloom where you're planted.
I agree. And give it a try. Take risks. I would give this advice to you, Wes, is if you're interested in this, if you try it and you don't like it, you can always come back to what you're doing. That won't go anywhere. And so that's
and this is, I've had people, send us your resume or whatever. Like they reach out to me or sign this NDA. I'm like, no, I'm not interested. What? Like if we're starting out with a prenup before we even talk, no, this guy, like he's local. I've known him for years. And I made a post just like 2 weeks ago. So, hey, I'm looking to maybe buy a company, buy into a company, take over some. I don't know. Like I'm looking for things. Let's go. He immediately hit me up. We talked. We've met 3 times. Met him first. Met his brother-in-law and his CMO next. Went back. Met with him. He went on vacation. We're talking numbers. So it's all right. We'll talk when you get back. So I mean, just like easy, right? The way it should be. It's like let's just see if there's chemistry.
Yeah.
Go make some stuff happen.
I like it.
So we shall see. Well, cool, man. Where do you want folks to go? You want them to go to Build, Grow, Scale? You want them to go to Firing the Man? I'm gonna link out to all of it. If they're a certain size, go to Build, Grow, Scale. But everybody can go to Fire the Man, right?
Yeah, I would say if you're interested in e-commerce and e-commerce podcasts, check out Firing the Man. It is on all platforms where podcasts are played. And you can also go to firingtheman.com for a little bit more information. If you are a Shopify business owner and want to take your business to the next level, check out buildgrowscale.com. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me, my email is david@firingtheman.com.
And mention the sales podcast, and they're going to get 100 legacy pumpkin seeds, right? So they too can have a massive pumpkin patch if they want.
I'll tell you what, if they know Wes, they're already a VIP.
Are you going to send some ballistics for shooting optics and recommendations for size of game? Do they get that as a little bonus?
Tell you what, if anyone wants to just hit me up and talk hunting, I'll talk hunting all day with you.
You got some venison recipes?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you want to see my office?
For those listening, oh my gosh, he has quite a few animals on his wall. Dude, I just saw this thing. This woman's a taxidermist. She takes raccoons. I think it was just raccoons, but maybe other animals. I think it was raccoons, and puts them in these like cartoon poses, but they're like real animals. And then she makes little skits out of it. It was the funniest thing. All these animals. Have you seen that?
I've seen, there's a really famous taxidermist that does fun stuff with squirrels, like squirrels shooting bow and arrows. And there's taxidermy is an art, and anybody that doesn't consider them artists, I don't think knows a lot about taxidermy. It's a special thing and preserves your memory from the field, pays respect to the animal, and it's something I personally enjoy.
Yeah, very cool. Do you do it, or
I don't? I don't.
You enjoy like the process or getting it done?
Yeah, I've got an elk in my room, and every morning when I walk in my office and look at it, I remember where I was at. I remember who I was with. I remember the weather. Kind of takes me back to that place. Yeah. And so I enjoy it.
That's cool. I just saw a video yesterday, and it was unbelievable. I couldn't tell what it was at first, but it was a wild boar, and it was a big one, and it was fast. And these 2 dudes are standing on a road, and there's a little bit of brush, and somebody's filming from like way up high, a couple 100 feet up on a hill. And I'm like, what in the hell? And I think both had a gun. The guy on the left, I think he did. It was a weird angle. But this thing is coming straight at him. There's a little bit of a gully. And that dude stood there just calm as could be. And it had to be a slug because that thing went right down. But it got close, and it's coming so fast and a little bit downhill, it launches into the air and tumbles into the ditch. And the one guy, he steps aside and it lands right in front of him. And all the comments do not disappoint. I'll try to find it and send them. They're like, what was that horn in the beginning? They're like, just big brass balls slamming into one another. Like, I don't know if I'd be that calm. I'd like to be at least next to a tree where I can kind of duck and pull out my Glock 20, pop a little 10 mil into him if he gets too close. Like, who does that, man?
Yeah, those wild boars are something else.
They pay you to kill them in Texas. $5 a tail.
Yep.
All right. BuildGrowScale.com. David, thanks for coming on, man. It's good catching up with you.
Wes, this has been great. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, have a good day. You thought I was kidding about the award-winning pumpkin patch grower, huh? But there you go. Build, grow, scale, firing the man. Interesting dude. We had a good chat right after as well because, like I mentioned, I'm in negotiations with a local company. Help them grow their sales, step up, grow to the mid-market. So it was interesting that he'd kind of done the same thing, like about the same time. So the Lord works in mysterious ways. So, but I hope you got a lot out of this. Check out my other episodes. If you are interested in podcasting, I am working with a friend of mine. He's a member of my inner circle as well. I haven't talked about that in a while, but been helping a couple of folks get on podcasts. My friend and inner circle member, Chris, he is a professional transcriptionist. He's been in the space for decades. And, as I do this, the software that I use has changed over the years. AI has come around and helped a lot, but I've told this joke many times on different interviews, people with AI, it's like, well, okay, your AI will create emails and send it, and then my AI bot will delete the emails and report them as junk, right? Or maybe they talk back and forth. Before AI, it was VAs, right? Virtual assistants. You'd have a VA reach out, my VA would reply. There's still no human-to-human connection. So how do you stand out? How do you get the word out? How do you connect? How do you get rich and famous? How do you get taller and skinnier? All these tools can transcribe, put captions, create snippets. How do you distribute it? How do you get the word out? So there's still problems with that. So, I'm helping folks get on shows, and with those with shows, we're helping them get the word out. And, I'm eating my own dog food. We are perfecting the processes for myself. I'm the guinea pig, and it's working. And so now it's like, okay, let's create systems and processes. And, we talked about a little bit on this episode with David. Military is very good at creating procedures, following procedures. When I was in Korea, I had to create an SOP, standard operating procedure, with the assumption I'm dead, right? And that's what the military does. You go to war, people die. So you need backups, you need redundancy. People need to be cross-trained. You'll see the special forces, Navy SEALs, the radio guy, the corpsman. But they can all work the machine gun. They can all throw a grenade. They can all communicate. So, but yes, you have specialties, but then you have redundancies. So we'd have to create SOPs, and I would get the youngest, least experienced person in my unit, lay the book in front of them and say, go through this, operate that piece of machinery, and let's see where I made a mistake, where some shortcomings were. And you've got to be pretty diligent, to make that happen, to make sure lives are not lost in implementing this procedure. So that attention to detail, it was beaten into my brain at the Air Force Academy. It has been beaten into Christian's brain, being a transcriptionist, a legal transcriptionist. So important cases where things have to be right. So we're just kind of anal in that regard. So getting the words right, the transcriptions right, the URLs right. I noticed on mine just on yesterday working on one, the transcription misinterpreted one of my URLs, my Fixer Wes. And it was my email, right? Wes@fixerwes.com. And because I've added that as one of my options. If y'all know how to beat a cough in under 4 weeks, please let me know. God, since COVID, crazy. But it caught I caught the error and had to go in and fix it on the caption. So when detail matters, get folks that are out there that are in the game, that truly have that eye for detail. AI is still not perfect yet, and it still can't do everything. So if you would like to be an early guinea pig for us, with us, we're going to have some special pricing that we're going to recommend, not even recommend, we're going to demand you use the certain tools that we use. You're going to buy those tools. So you're going to own them, be the administrator, and then make us users. And we will help you with the workflow, the process, optimize things, let you produce great content, and then we'll take over and do the rest. Okay. So that's, if that is of interest to you, just send me an email, wes@fixerwest.com, and we can chat about it, and I will help you. Okay. Otherwise, 12weekspeak.com, start your habit tracker. If you're interested in my inner circle, you can go to my homepage and then start looking around. There's a link to it there. You can join weekly, you can join quarterly, super affordable. I lead the calls, get access to me, another private group. I'll do all I can to help you sell more better. Okay. Help you grow, become a better person as best that I can. All right. Thanks for listening. I'll go sell something.